Hello, it's Kerri, and it's Tuesday. Okay, all right, I'm just letting this get all set up. Okay, all good. It's all looking good. I can actually see the comments, which is amazing. It all seems to be working all right. Let's keep our fingers crossed that my webcam stays working. Um, if you follow me every week, you'll notice that last week the screen went black and it was my webcam stopped working, whereas all I did was play around with it and it's working again. So let's hope it stays that way. Hi Odette. Yes, back home in the studio. I was down in Melbourne over the weekend and caught up with Odette and a few of my other Creative Barn members, which was so much fun. Hi Jennifer as well. So yeah, back into it. Got to, holiday is over, so I got to get back to work. And Karen as well. All right. So just let me put things out of the way. Okay, so today I thought we could talk about fear and why sometimes fear can hold us back. With our art, of course, everything I talk about in the chat here is always art related. So I'm just looking behind me at all my mess back there, but that's all right. Okay. Hi Julie as well. I caught up with Julie too, so it's good to see everyone on here. Okay, so so today, yeah, we're going to talk about fear, and essentially doing it scared is sort of what we're going to talk about, and I'll run through a few different scenarios. I think of what might be holding you back. I think we all suffer from fear all the time. A big easel to hide things. Very true. I did shared her little secret with me. She has a really big easel behind her with a large painting, and it hides a lot of the mess behind. But normally my wall is fine, but I just noticed, yeah, I've got all this other stuff here. I'll push that out the way. That's all right. All art studios shouldn't be perfectly clean. You can't. It's good to have it clean to create, like have a bit of a bench space, but I think all creative people need to be a bit messy. So, all right. So, like I said, fear can be good, of course, when we're using it to keep ourselves safe. So, not so much now, but back with our ancestors, maybe their fear of dinosaurs kept them alive, which helped to for all of us to be here, of course. So, I think nowadays, though, we don't need to be quite as fearful of things that are going to harm us. I mean, there is of course still fear for safety with violence and all of that, but we shouldn't let fear hold us back with our art. That's for sure, or hold us back from just living our life to its fullest, I suppose. Which can sometimes, I think, fear is just an automatic reaction. I think it's some chemical thing in your brain. All the rest of it, you could research that, but I'm not a scientist. But it's an automatic thing when things scare us. We automatically fear it, and it can be really debilitating. So that's why I wanted to run through some things and hopefully maybe encourage you to push through that and actually do it scared. So I know that can be hard, easier said than done. So it is uncomfortable, but I think you need to push past it anyway. It's the best way to grow, or probably the only way to really grow, is to push yourself outside your comfort zone. You know, because otherwise, if we didn't push ourselves, even if we didn't want to, um, we then end up just being stuck in a little box sort of thing. So definitely, as I'm chatting, let me know if there's any fears that have held you back with your art. and if you've pushed through them. Hi, Karen, you're at work. And Alejandro. I can't say that, but welcome, Lynn, as well. All right. So, like I said, I talk a lot about building confidence with my students, but actually, I think the deeper root of that state of like building confidence is doing things scared and breaking that fear. So that's when our confidence will be built, is if we do things that we're scared of and do it and we succeed and we get it done, then we get more confidence, don't we, to then try it again. So we just got to tackle it head on. Again, that's easier said than done. Um, but I really do think it's a good thing. If you're scared of something, then obviously it means a lot to you. So you know, if you weren't scared or feared doing it, then it's obviously something you don't care about that much, maybe. Um, you know, but if you're really scared of doing it, then it's something that's really important to you as well. So that's how you can sort of probably figure out the degree of importance is how much you're scared to do it. So, all right. So it's like if I hadn't of made the tree change, like I talked about the other week, where we sold everything and bought a farm, which we had no idea what we were doing. So if I hadn't done that, and if I hadn't have said yes to teaching, then I wouldn't be living here doing what I really love, living on my little farm and getting to chat with you guys, getting to um, be with all my members. Like we had a member meetup in Melbourne, like they're all over the world and they're the most amazing people. So I'd still be doing my job as a sign writer, which I didn't mind. It just got a bit boring and all the rest of it, you know. But it's more, you might like your job, but it's more of that whole having to go to work thing, you know, the 9 to 5. So if I hadn't have jumped in and gone, yes, let's do it, let's just sell everything, let's go and find a farm, let's pretend to be farmers. And then especially when I was asked to teach, and I could have easily said no because it scared the hell out of me. I'd never taught anyone anything, but I just said yes because, you know, I just thought I need to do it. I was petrified the first workshop I did. I had all these notes of I'd learnt. I was googling how to teach essentially, and you know, if you're scared and all the rest of it. And I listened to one lady, she was saying how make sure you have your schedule, essentially work out exactly what you're going to talk about and when the breaks are going to be, what part of the painting we're going to be doing, what I can chat about while they're working. So I really had a structure and a process of how that first workshop was going to go, and it worked really well. And because I knew how I painted, and that's what I was just sharing with them, so I knew my process, and we just step by step it through, and it went really well, and I absolutely loved it. So I think, like, yeah, there's that fear there, but if you're prepared, it makes it less fearful. And I hate public speaking. Same with doing this. This was the most scariest thing the first time I hit live, like go live on Facebook. I was absolutely petrified. You know, I did all my makeup, made sure my hair was nice, and now you can see I don't even bother. But the more you do it, the less that fear becomes. So, what's Jennifer got here? So important to do something even when you're scared. If you don't, the fear unfortunately will grow over time, and I've found gradually gets worse. Very true, Jennifer. That's so true. It will. You'll build it up to be worse and worse and worse because you're just thinking about it all the time, and yeah, those things do grow. So Karen, fake it till you make it. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you really only need to be one step ahead of the person you're teaching. Essentially, that's what I tell myself anyway. um, so yeah, so another thing I had as well was um, I applied, like, I went to put my, to, there was a gallery owner. He's quite a well known gallery owner in Brisbane. And I got a, they were doing a thing to, he was seeing what work, I suppose, to hang in the gallery, or he was critiquing your work. So I went along to it with one of my pieces. And he essentially told me I should stop doing pastel and pick another medium. And I'd really only just been doing pastels for a year or two, or probably, yeah, a couple of years. I'd already won with my dingoes in some award, like competitions and stuff. But what he was getting, I could have just instantly, like, I was gutted. Like, I would love pastels. And he more or less just said I need to pick another medium if I ever wanted a chance to go in his gallery. And so I took it straight to heart and went, oh my God, like, I'm no good and all this. But he wasn't saying my work was no good. He himself, he won't hang anything that's got glass in front of it. Um, so he more or less said I need to change mediums. But yeah, you know, when you love an art medium, you know, you're protective of it. And like, so I was really upset when he first told me that. I took it to heart and thought it was my work wasn't good enough and all the rest. But then when I really sort of sat down, I thought, well, you know, screw him. First of all, I'm not giving up my pastels because I love them so much. And yeah, I just thought, okay, well, he probably wasn't really saying my work was no good. He was more saying that I should go to oils or acrylics or something that didn't need framing. But yeah, again, I thought, well, I'm not going to change. So it just means, you know, there's other ways to get your work out there. You don't need to be in one particular gallery. And nowadays, galleries are a bit of a dying place anyway. Like they used to. Now that social media and the internet, we can get our work out there easily. So yeah, you know, it's good to. I was going to mention criticism later, but it's you know, good to take on it and learn from it and think about it, but trying not to take it to heart is good. But so I'm glad I didn't take it to heart because I would never. This was years ago, and I would have not even bothered with pastel, and I probably would have even nearly stopped painting because I was pretty devastated at the time. But you know, so yeah, just I pushed through it and kept going. So of course, there's a lot of things we fear as artists, and number one, probably fear of failure, telling ourselves we can't do it, it won't work, you know, yeah, it won't look any good, we're no good, all of that. You know, we all have that on our back. Um, but you don't know what that outcome's going to be unless you give it a go, I suppose. So you just need to you need to surround yourself with people that support you as well, I suppose. So we're scared of showing others our work in case they laugh or they say negative things about it, they don't like it, because you know we all know we spend hours doing our paintings, drawings, whatever medium you do, and whatever subject you paint, but we sort of put ourselves into that, and we're painting what we love, and especially if you're being expressive more, really that's hard to put that out there because yeah, you don't want to be ridiculed. You might think it's good, but you're worried that everyone else is going to think it's silly. But um but I think that's the biggest fear because it comes from our heart, having other people say negative things about it. So there is a lot of fear around that. um, some people have fear of getting started, um, and especially as a beginner, that can be quite overwhelming. You know, you always think you need all the supplies to even get started. Or also, I found myself right at the start. Um, I would see someone's art and absolutely love it, and I'd need to know exactly what they used, exactly the colors they use, exactly the brands they use, and it was like I needed exactly what they had used for me to produce that painting or to follow along. Where in I think we all go through that as beginners. we feel we need exactly everything. And it's the way I was procrastinating a lot, because I'd go, oh, I can't start it until I go and buy that particular red pastel or something. Or that, I always say it's all about the paper, which it is with pastel, but the colors, it's nowhere near as important, or the brands of the pencils and all of that stuff. But it's just a form of procrastinating, I suppose, is that fear of getting started, where we think we need every single little item to get going. So that's another one. I know myself, I used to be like that all the time, whereas now I'm not. Not as long as I've got the right paper, then the colours will happen. We can mix those up. You could literally, well, especially with oils, just have your three primaries, black and white, and that's all you'd need, because you can pretty much make every colour from it. Pastels are a little bit different because you can't blend as much, but I do find I make a lot. I limit myself with my Carbothello set of pencils, and I create whatever colours I need just out of that one set. Um, yeah. So, but if it wasn't for the fact that I was teaching and trying to limit what I'm using, so that I don't expect everyone to have to go and buy every single pastel ever made, I probably would. I'd probably go and buy a set of pit pastels and a set of dough and pastels, and all of that, just because it's. I would feel I need all of that to be able to create the work I create, but it's not true at all. So, all right, here's some fear. I had a list of fears here, so those are a couple, but let's go through some main ones. So, fear of imperfection. Okay, so many artists fear that their work isn't good enough or it's not perfect. Like I always say, you're never going to be perfect, so that one you can throw out the window straight away. So fear can stop you finishing or even starting a piece because you're afraid of making mistakes or not living up to your own high standards. But you need to embrace those imperfections, especially as you're learning. But even if you're a seasoned artist, imperfections are things where you can grow from that. Um, you learn from your mistakes. Like I say, there's no bad paintings. It's a learning process the whole time you're creating. You are always learning right up till the day you you're dead, essentially. So as long as you're creating, you're learning. So that fear of imperfection, you really can, quash that, because there is no perfect. Okay, so just as long, I think if you look at each piece that you're learning from it, then, and you're looking at it that it doesn't have to be perfect, then that way you should overcome that one. I would think, by looking at it that way. You know, I suppose I'm a bit like that. Every time I do something, I feel like it's got to be a fully finished piece that I'm probably going to frame and hopefully sell or hang in the gallery, or something. Whereas you shouldn't, especially when you're first starting out, you shouldn't be looking at each piece to be finished as a perfect painting. You should be looking at it that you're learning how to maybe work on fur, or you're learning how this color works with that color, or maybe you're being a bit more creative and you're going to start experimenting a little bit. But every piece, we shouldn't be looking at that it's going to be this beautifully finished perfect painting. It's something we're going to learn from. So like I said, every mistake you make, you can learn from it. And the beauty, if you are doing pastels with pastel mat, we can wash it off and start again if you want. So you shouldn't look at it that you're wasting your materials in any way. Okay, number 2, a fear of criticism. So this is a bit different to a fear of showing others your work. So there's sort of a couple of fears there of, showing people your work. That's that first initial, when you first start painting, you don't want to show anyone your work, even your family members. You sort of want to keep it hidden. So that's the one fear of showing people your work. But fear of criticism is, some people really fear that negative feedback, even from family or friends. So, all professionals in the art world, like I said, that gallery owner, um, you know, that was a criticism that, I had to learn from. So depending on where that critique's coming from as well, so you can either take it seriously or just choose to ignore it. So I think you just need to learn how to handle criticism and use it constructively without letting it knock your confidence. So dissect it and see if there's some truth to it, because a lot of criticism, sometimes there is a bit of truth to it, and learn what you can learn from, and change or incorporate it into your art. So I think the first thing, if you're getting criticism, I hate it when you might put a piece, like your finished art up, you probably love it, you put it on Facebook, in a Facebook group, and someone gives you a really negative critique and you haven't even asked for a critique, you've just shared your art. That I don't like. But we learn from critique, of course, and it's a good way to grow. So I think there's the difference between, if you're just putting your work up there to share your work, and people, usually most people are really nice and they'll encourage you, or if you want a critique, you put your work up and then ask for anyone to critique or see if they can see where you could improve. So there's two different things there as well. So you know criticism can be really good, but it can also knock your confidence a bit, unfortunately. But again, you need to figure out if it's a good source of criticism, like where it's coming from. I've heard of some people, they get a bad critique and then it really knocks them around, and they stop painting for a while, which is really sad. So I think trying to dissect that criticism, and maybe even talk it through with others that like other friends and that, and or if you're in an art group, like inside the Creative Barn, we talk about a lot of things like confidence and all of that. And I would like to think anyone in the membership could put up, if they're feeling a bit deflated from a bad critique, whether they could, I'm sure they would feel comfortable enough to put that inside the group and talk about it. And we could dissect it a little bit as well, which, it all helps, but having those people that you can share that with, I think. So, all right. Number 3, fear of comparison. So many artists, especially those returning to art after a long time, um, we always compare our work to others, and you never feel like you measure up, don't you? So comparison is like the worst thing to do, and it'll stifle your creativity 100%. So you need to focus on your own personal growth and not what others are doing. And I know that is really hard. Um, it happens to all of us. We always compare with others. It's one of the main things I try and teach my students is not to do that, because you have absolutely no idea how long they've been creating, how many hours a week they put in. You see people, I hate this as well, on social media, they'll put up in a group, this is my first pastel painting, and it's like the best painting you've seen, like it's amazing. But they forget to put that they've been painting in oils, or they're proficient at graphite drawings. Like, they forget to say they've spent the last 20 years mastering charcoal or realism or whatever. Okay, it might be their first pastel painting, but if it's really good, then it's not their first painting ever. They just tend to forget to add that little bit of information when they put it up. And I don't know why people do that, whether they're trying to get others to go, oh, you're amazing, like, you're so good, I can't believe this is your first piece. And I don't know. But you see it all the time. And I always read into it and go, well, they've left out a lot of information there. So don't even, if you start to feel yourself comparing or feeling like, oh God, they're so much better than me and they've improved way quicker than me, and just, you don't know how many hours they're putting in and what their background is. So, you know, it's not something to waste time on at all. Just don't compare. And I also found when I first was getting a lot of, like, I was following a lot of Instagram pages of artists that really I look up to and inspire me, which is great. But don't forget to also be part of other groups or follow other people that are on the same level as you, or maybe even beginners, and you could offer feedback on their work. Make sure your social media feed isn't just full of amazing artists, okay? Because that as well can really play with that fear of comparison. Because if you're just seeing really brilliant work all the time, that would make you sort of start to feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to get that good. But if you follow others that are on the same level as you, that you feel at about that same level, and definitely follow others that are just starting and that are on a lower level than you, and that way you can share your knowledge and help them as well. Okay, so that's one little trip, um, little thing to avoid, is don't just follow amazing artists. Follow all different artists and be parts of all different groups. So beginner groups on Facebook, or just certain medium groups, just all different. But have a good wide variety of stuff that you're seeing, and on your social media. So, all right, number 4, fear of wasting time or resources. So pretty much, as we get older, we always think, oh my God, we're running out of time. I should have started years ago, and this and that. But there's no wrong or right age to start art, um, and it's it's always a good investment in art. So, and especially pastels, I feel like everyone says they're an expensive medium, but I actually don't think that. And I don't think I I think you need to invest in the paper, and 20 bucks for a big sheet of paper, when you're comparing that to a, a sketchbook from a cheap shop, then yeah, okay, it might sound dear, but when you're comparing a big sheet of pastel matte paper to a canvas, it's actually pretty cheap. And if you don't invest in that paper, then you're going to struggle throughout. So you really need, I feel the same way with when you give your kids art supplies. Some of the kids' art supplies are horrendous. The brushes are all splayed like this, the paint's see through essentially. And okay, fine when they're really little kids, but as they get a bit older, I think they should also deserve decent quality materials to learn and paint with, because if you get discouraged otherwise. So I would definitely don't fear that you're wasting resources, because you've got to have good quality stuff to be able to learn properly, I think, anyway. um, and you're never wasting time. Anytime you do a bit of art is a good day. You just, it's not a waste in any way. You're always learning, you're growing. You might have, you know, created something that you don't like, but you're 100% you've learnt from it. And there's so many great artists that have started later. Some might have started at 70, 75, 80. And it's all the joy of creating, isn't it? It's not so much, there's no age limit, because you might start later in in life, but you're not aiming to be a world famous artist. There are some artists that have started that late and are actually quite well known, but the joy of art is in the journey and the creating, the process. so not the end result. So yeah, there is um, no fear of being too old to learn or anything like that. Which that's number five, is the fear of being too old to learn. So I've just sort of blended the two together. So yeah, so just get started, I suppose, and don't even worry about it. And we can be a bit selfish as we get older too. I think, when we're younger, we always put our family first, and the kid raising kids and earning money and all the rest of it. But I think as we get older, we're allowed to be selfish and just go, no, this is my my time now. I spent the last 30 years or 20 years raising the kids. On that kid, 30 years, it's a lifetime thing, they keep coming back. But now you can say, no, I'm not going to drop my art time or this or that. Create, get them to create when they want you to babysit around you. You don't have to drop everything for them anymore. So yeah, you're never too old. And like I said, it's not about becoming famous, it's about that journey. And it's so relaxing and just so nice to see it and paint, and it takes your mind off everything. It de-stresses you. It's just good for your health in general, I suppose, as we get older as well. My dad says it's true. I always think I should have started earlier, but still love my life. Yeah, yeah, but no, it's like there's a race, isn't there? We always seem to think we have to, if we'd started earlier, we could have done this and that. But yeah, there is no starting earlier. It's just do it when we get time. Earlier, 20 years ago, you probably didn't have time. You're probably enjoying your life at what you were doing at that time. But yeah, but this is all about breaking those fears. So I do hear that one a lot. Some people go, "Oh no, I'm too old." Like when I sort of mention, "Oh, I run art classes in person," and that, "Oh, I'm too old to start," and it's like you're not, you're not too old. So, but yeah, it's just one of those fears. So, um, these are some other, these next two are ones that you might not think it's a fear, but it does happen, and that's fear of success. So, surprisingly, some people fear success, and it can be just as real as fear of failure. So, they might fear that there's expectations that come with success. So, like how to produce work to meet a higher standard all the time. So that's fair. It's a good one. You can really see it in musicians, say. So maybe they've had a huge hit. And, we all say a one hit wonder. There was a lot of those back in the 80s, to have a huge hit song. And then there's that fear of constantly having to try and have another hit song. Otherwise, they'll be called that one hit wonder. And it's a bit the same with art, with painting and drawing. You'll do an amazing painting that's just, when you just get into that flow state, and it just all works, and it's just the most beautiful painting. And usually you absolutely love it. I know when I've painted something that I think is special, and I just love it, because usually my husband loves it as well, and I hang it up in the house. I'll spend money on the frame, and I just love it. And generally, they're the ones that sell, um, and they're the ones that I want to keep and hang in my house are usually the ones that sell. And so I end up, it's a sad day, because they only usually last a few weeks, and then someone's bought them, and I don't get to see them again. But there's always then that fear of, God, will I be able to paint another one the same? Like when I did my first dingo that sold, it was like, oh my God, I was so scared that to be able to paint another one that was going to be at the same standard. And I did. I just got back into it, and I did one after the other after the other. And now I don't really have that fear anymore, because I I trust myself. I know my techniques. I know what I'm doing, because I've done it long enough to to know that each one I do, we're all going to go through that ugly stage, but in the end, if I persevere and stick with it, it's going to come out and I'll be happy with it. So that's that fear of a bit of a fear of success that holds us back, is that if we have success, then what are we going to do, because we might not have it again. So it's a bit of a strange one. You wouldn't think that'd be a fear of success, but it's a real thing. So and fear of exposure. So especially a lot of artists are shy or introverted, so there can be that fear of putting yourself out there. um, so whether that's in exhibitions or social media or even art communities. So I would say if you're struggling from that fear of exposure, and I mean, you may not want to share your work. It's a good way to grow though as an artist. So even if you are really scared to share your work, you might not want to, but I always encourage my students to definitely try and get your work out there. So, but don't go trying to enter the most prestigious art awards, as your first go. Don't try and get into the most elite galleries. Start with your local art societies, and just, get involved in your local art community, and you'll see there'll be people from total beginners right through to advanced. But it's a really good way to just go and hang your work in one of their galleries. You could do it with a friend. You could both hire a wall or just enter one of their local art competitions. And just seeing your work on the wall is really encouraging. And you'll be surprised when you put. A lot of people, I think, fear that their work's not going to look good enough to be hanging on the wall with others. But when you see their work hanging on your work hanging with others, you'll soon realize that it looks just as good as everyone else's. So again, that's a fear of exposure. Oh, we've got a few comments coming in. Hi, Farley. Sam, you have no idea about getting out there. um, and Sam, you think about Mullumbimby show coming up. That's a great one to go in, Sam. If it's your local area. Mullumbimby's a fairly small little town, and yeah, that's definitely where to start. 100% just your local art, and even if you have an art society there, join them as well, because they sort of, you'll hear about other awards like competitions coming up. But yeah, all the small ones, and especially start with ones that you can just drive to as well, that you can hang your work. Don't go spending a fortune having to post work here and there. Just go with your locals. You live in Mullumbimby, yeah, definitely 100%. Then go with that one. Go and check them out. Find out all about it. See what the rules are. Yeah, and it's not about selling your work or winning the award, like winning or anything like that. It's all about just putting your work out there, and building your confidence. So, and overcoming that fear of exposure, because I've got a few students that definitely had never even thought that they would hang their work anywhere. But it's just such a great confidence boost just to see it there. There's no expectations of winning or selling or anything. If any of that happens, that's even 100% better. But definitely just put it in there, and it'll make you feel like an artist because it'll make you feel, it'll be legit that your work's hanging. And even take along some friends, go to the opening. That's always fun. And yeah, just wander around and see your work there. So it's really, really good confidence builder. Okay, last one, fear of creative block. So some artists, of course, will fear running out of ideas or losing their creative spark or your mojo. That fear holds them back from taking on new projects, worrying that you won't be able to start and stay inspired long enough to finish it. So fear of creative block. We all go through that creative block, I think, as well. But yeah, just overcoming that as well. I find if I'm feeling a bit, uh, for me, it's a bit different nowadays because I have a million things I want to do and not enough time. But if you sort of really feeling a bit flat and I went through that. I went a good year without drawing anything because I just wasn't feeling it. Um, and it's hard. I think the longer you leave it, the harder it is to get back into it. So, but definitely go and get inspired at a gallery, or we just did a meetup in Melbourne, which was amazing. We went and checked out Hosier Lane, which is all this graffiti up the this one lane there. It was so cool. We went and looked at a beautiful old painting, which is in Chloe's Bar in Young and Jackson pub down there. And then we went to the National Gallery, and that was inspiring, some of the artwork in there. Some of it was funny to look at, others were absolutely inspiring, but everyone's taste is different. But we had a great time, and just being around other creatives and just looking at other art can also help inspire. There's all the I find that's the way I get inspired most, is being around other creative people. But just even go and do something completely different. If you're a pastel artist, maybe go and do a watercolor class, or go and do, if you do realism, go and do an abstract class. Like, do something completely different. Do pottery. I know Odette went and did a ceramics class or something. Like, if you're really getting in that, you're stuck in a creative block, then go and do something completely different. But do it with other artists, I think, is a good way. Odette said hanging at the Maryborough was the best piece. Yeah, that was probably Odette's first time hanging her work as well. A lot of my members as well, I always encourage them, if they live locally, to come and hang at the Maryborough Gallery, which is, Maryborough probably not much different to Mullumbimby, although I think Mullumbimby's a bit smaller, but it doesn't matter. So, Farley, let your imagination be your source to create projects. Yeah, then find resources to utilize as your tools and reference picks. Great idea, Farley. Yep, come up with an idea and then go and you'll refine that idea by going to get reference images, yeah, or you could even do AI if you want. Type in your idea, see what it spits out, and get some ideas from that as well. Jeanette, sometimes a good start is putting your art in the local ag show. Yeah, that's another one as well. Around here, there doesn't seem to be a great deal put in the art section. So, a good confidence builder, if you get some awards, gets you known a bit locally. Perfect, Jeanette. Yeah, like, how we have the Ekka in Brisbane. Well, each little shire or area has their own. Like, I know the north side, there's the Pine Rivers show. Up here we have the Maryborough show, and you're so true. Not a lot of people enter them, and it's probably because the prize money is like $5. It's usually, I think it's $1 to enter or $2 to enter, $5 if you win. But that's, again, totally irrelevant. If you're just starting out, they're a really good way to put your work up and see it on the wall with other artists. And I know the one here, they just started again last year, I think it was. They stopped doing the art one in the ag show up here. I think they didn't have someone to run it, or I can't remember why, but this year they've started it again. And a few of my members put their work in there, and I think a few won like first and second, encouragement awards, all of that stuff. So yeah, that is a really good one because it doesn't cost much, and the competition isn't fierce. So, but again, it's all about just seeing your work there as well. Okay, so I was thinking about this, and I think I was thinking it's kind of like a wheel. I was trying to imagine this as a wheel. So it's like you've never done something before, so there's a lot of fear there. Um, So, because you haven't done it before, you don't have the confidence, and that brings the fear. So if you then do the thing and you do it scared, that will build your confidence, and then you're not as scared, and then you sort of repeat the process. So every time you do it, you're not as scared. So it's scary, you do it, you're not as scared, and then it's scary again. Like a wheel going round and round. And that's how I felt like the Facebook lives were honestly my biggest fear, because like recording tutorials and all of that, not a problem, because I can just it's a recording. Like if I you know say something stupid, which is quite common, I can just edit that out. It's not live, whereas Facebook lives, any lives, were really scary. But to me, it's just every time I press that button, do it scared, I get more confident. Then next week I come around, do it again, get more confidence, and then it just grows and grows and grows. And I know, like my daughter's a good example actually. She's got an Instagram page called Rippin' Round Oz. It's their travels around Australia, and she said, I don't know how you do it. She said, I've tried to record myself and I sound so stupid, because we all think our voice sounds weird when we hear it back. And she's right into like making sure she's got makeup on and puts a filter on and all this stuff. And I said, you'll eventually, the more you do it, you'll eventually get to the point that you won't even bother with the makeup. You won't even worry. You'll be so used to hearing yourself as a recording, you won't even think you sound silly anymore. So it's just, yeah, that process of doing it over and over again. Sam, yeah, in your $6 Kmart frame, definitely hang it in your $6 Kmart frame, 100%. And you'll find you'll be the same with a lot of others will be hanging in their $6 Kmart frame as well. But that's where we start. We started that. We wouldn't go to one of the main art galleries in Brisbane City or Sydney or Melbourne and front up wanting them to hang our artwork if we'd only put it in a $6 frame. But it's totally different. So your ag shows, your local art galleries here, a lot of our just our one here where we do exhibitions, you can hire a wall. A lot of the frames there are just spotlight, came out, all the rest of it. You can tizzy them up a bit by doing a nicer mat, like go and getting a mat cut from your local framer or something like that. Just making them a bit better in general, rather than a plastic front. Put glass in there. There's different ways, but definitely go for it. Just do it. So Julie entered her local art show, and it was a huge confidence builder for her. Yeah, it would have been Julie. And Julie's a member of the Creative Barn, and she comes to the art retreat, and I see your confidence grow all the time, the more you do this stuff. Okay, so one of my premium members gave me a review the other day, and that's what really got me thinking about how much my students grow when they're inside the premium tier of the Creative Barn. Because I'm just not just teaching how to draw realistic wildlife art. So we're a whole community, and we sort of grow together. We talk about things that are art related, which about your confidence and all that. And with knowledge, your confidence grows, of course, when you know how to do things. Confidence, and it overcomes that fear. And I think having that supportive group really helps. So I'll read this review. It was very nice. It was from Diane. I don't think she's on at the moment, but Diane she put, I never would have believed when joining the Creative Barn in September 21 would lead me. I found my passion in pastel, charcoal and graphite under Kerri's expert tutelage. She's guided me through the art making process and encouraged me to challenge myself by creating merchandise, calendars and cards for family and friends, and by entering exhibitions and competitions. This weekend resulted in my first 2 painting sales, a fireworks going off in my head moment. I'm so grateful for Kerri's clear, consistent and supportive mode of teaching, which led me to this mind-blowing moment. What a fabulous feeling that someone actually wanted to pay money for my work. Thank you so much for your guidance and support, Kerri. So yeah, and Di has been with me since 21, and I've seen her grow and grow and grow, and she started to put work just in her local shows as well, and but never really trying to get out and sell her work or anything like that. It's a hobby and she loves it. And but she sold both of her paintings in this show she entered. And to have a stranger buy your work, that is a huge moment and such a confidence boost, because it's, you know, when we first start off, our family and friends quite often will buy our work from us, but the minute you have a stranger buy your work, that is where it's like next level. So it was such a beautiful review, and such a great moment for Di as well. So um, so um, that's all. I put in the chat here a link. I think it's in there. I'm going to open the premium tier of the membership just for a couple of days, just because it really got me thinking that I have the essentials tier, which is all about learning art, how to draw in realism, and how to use charcoal, pastel, and graphite. But the premium tier is really where it's all about growing that confidence and overcoming your fears, and just everything to do with art in general, and just the whole community and all of that stuff. So I thought I would open the premium doors for a couple of days just for anyone who's watching this. I will advertise a little bit, but just for those that feel they're at a point they really need that push, or they're stuck and they really need help to, you know, just grow more. So it is such a great group that really really moves you forward quite quickly compared to if you're just doing it alone. So all right, I wanted to end with this quote I saw. So thank you for joining me. But so with our fears, okay, we just need to acknowledge them and then dismiss them and do what scares you anyway. And this quote from author Karen Lamb: "A year from now, you may wish you had started today." So, of course, great quote, because if you don't start today, in a years from now, you will look back and go, "Oh, I should have started when Kerri told me to last year." So, Jennifer, it's so important to do something even when you're scared if you don't. Oh, I already read that. Sorry, guys. I missed this. Let's like a show. To boldly go where you have never gone before. Yes, Elaine. And it is a great group. All right, guys. So hopefully that's given you a bit of motivation, and like acknowledge your fear. Definitely figure out, maybe sit down and think about anything that might be holding you back. You might not have any fears and might be just going ahead full steam, but if you're sitting there and you some of this is hit a mark with you, and maybe you are a bit scared of certain things, then maybe just go through and think about it a bit deeper and figure out, is there ways I can acknowledge the fear but still move forward. So, and like I said, if you are thinking of joining me, I will have those doors over a couple of days. Okay. All right. And yes, Sam, good luck with your entry in Mullumbimby. Go for it. All right. I'll talk to you all next week. See you later.